was a bitterly cold October morning in a small town on the outskirts of Manchester. The sky was the color of ash, and a thin mist curled along the pavements. On the top of a hill, where the wind always seemed sharper than anywhere else, stood St. Mary's Grammar School, a building as old as the Victorian railway line that ran behind it. The school was notorious amongst locals. Parents whispered that the building was cursed, while children spoke of strange footsteps, of shadows that moved in empty corridors, of the old bell tower that rang even when no one touched the ropes. For Emily Carter, a 16-year-old girl in her final year, none of those stories mattered. She had exams to think about, friends to meet, and a life ahead of her. Yet deep inside, she felt a prickling sense of unease whenever she walked past the west wing of the school, part of the building that had been locked for decades. One Monday morning, her teacher accidentally handed her the wrong set of textbooks and asked her to return them to the storage room. Emily wandered through the maze-like corridors, her footsteps echoing unnaturally. The further she walked, the quieter the school seemed to become, until she realized she was standing outside a door she had never seen unlocked before. The handle was cold, almost like ice. To her shock, the door creaked open on its own, revealing a narrow staircase descending into darkness. Emily's breath caught in her throat. She should have turned back, but something compelled her to step inside. The air smelled of damp stone and something else, something metallic, almost like blood. Down in the gloom, she thought she heard it, a whisper, soft and drawn out as if someone was speaking her name. Millie. Her hands trembled, but her curiosity was stronger than her fear. She took another step, her torchlight barely slicing through the suffocating darkness. And then she saw it, etched into the wall. Old and half-faded words scratched by desperate fingers. "Do not wake him." The whisper came again, closer now, wrapping around her ears like a cold. Breath, Emily froze at the bottom of the staircase. Her torchlight flickered, casting long shadows against the damp stone walls. The silence pressed in on her chest until she felt she could hardly breathe. That whisper, low, drawn out, almost human, still echoed in her ears. She spun around. No one was there. The staircase behind her stretched back into blackness. For the first time, she noticed how far she had come down. The air was heavy, the kind of heavy that clings to your skin like cobwebs. She wanted to turn back, to run up those steps and pretend she had never opened that door. But curiosity was a cruel thing. It dragged her deeper. At the end of the narrow passage, she found a wooden door, old and rotten. Rusted chains crisscrossed it, but one lock was broken, dangling loose. Something or someone had tampered with it recently. Her heart hammered. She lifted her torch, and that was when she saw them, faint handprints smeared on the wood. The prints were too large to be a child's, yet they didn't look entirely human either. Emily whispered to herself, "This is mad. Absolutely mad." And then the door shook violently. She screamed and stumbled backwards, nearly dropping her torch. A deep, guttural sound rumbled from behind the chains. It wasn't a growl. It wasn't a human voice either. It was something in between. The floor beneath her vibrated as though the thing inside was trying to force its way out. Suddenly, the torch died. Darkness swallowed her whole. Emily's breath came quick and shallow. She clawed at the torch, hitting it until the beam stuttered back to life. For a split second, she wished it hadn't. Because in the moment the light returned, she saw an eye staring at her through the crack in the wood. It wasn't human. It glowed faintly like hot coal. Emily bolted up the stairs, her shoes slamming against stone, her lungs burning. She didn't stop until she was back in the main corridor of St. Mary's. The world above felt too bright, too normal, as if she had dreamt it all. But she hadn't. Because when she looked at her palm, she realized she had pressed it against the door while falling. A smear of black soot, cold and oily, clung to her skin. And faintly in the empty corridor, she heard the whisper again.